It all started one quiet evening, a night like any other. The family gathered around their old television, snuggled into the couch, engrossed in a movie. The soft glow of the screen flickered against the walls, the room filled with laughter and warmth. But then it happened. In the middle of a laugh, the sound died on their lips. Their little girl collapsed. Her body hit the floor with a thud. Before they could react, she started shaking violently, her limbs jerking unnaturally. The room plunged into chaos. Her parents rushed to her, terror gripping their hearts. This had to be a seizure, they thought, panicked thoughts racing through their minds. A neighbor who lived just next door heard the commotion and came running. Without hesitation, he offered to carry the limp child to the hospital. Time was ticking, and every second felt like an eternity. He scooped her up in his arms and they raced through the dark streets. But then, she opened her eyes. In a blind fury, the little girl, barely 7 years old, screamed and pushed the man with such force that he fell, crashing to the ground. The impact of his body against the pavement sent shockwaves through the air. Her parents froze. How could a child have the strength to knock down a grown man? It was impossible, unnatural. The neighbor, wide-eyed, picked himself up slowly. "This isn't a seizure," he whispered, his voice trembling. "There's something else, something not human." A chill ran down their spines. They wanted to dismiss it, to laugh it off as just some wild, irrational superstition. But deep down, they knew. Something was terribly wrong, but they weren't ready to believe it. Not yet. 6 months passed. The once happy home was now filled with dread. They had no answers, and their daughter had become more distant, her eyes vacant, her laughter now replaced with eerie silence. The fits came and went, always with increasing violence. But the worst was yet to come. One day they decided to visit the temple, hoping for some sense of peace. It was supposed to be just another family outing. But the moment they stepped onto the sacred grounds, the air grew thick, almost suffocating. Their daughter, who had been quiet all morning, began to grow restless, her behavior changing with each step closer to the temple. As they neared the entrance, she became hostile, thrashing, screaming. Her eyes, those innocent eyes, turned blood red. The parents were paralyzed by fear. Suddenly, an older woman from the temple rushed toward them. She looked at their daughter, her face hardening as if she recognized something familiar. Without a word, she ordered everyone to leave. They stood frozen, but she didn't ask again. "Now!" she barked. The door slammed shut, leaving them alone in the dimly lit temple with their possessed daughter and the old woman. And then, in a voice that sent chills down their spines, the woman demanded, "What happened to you? Who are you?" For a moment, there was nothing but silence, the stillness suffocating. Their daughter was unnaturally still, her head hanging low. But then the voice emerged. It wasn't their daughter's voice. It was deep, too deep. A boy's voice, speaking in perfect Gujarati, a language she had never learned, never even heard before. He began to speak, revealing secrets only he could know. "I see her in the park every day," the voice growled. "I watched her. She tripped one day. That's when I knew I could have her." The girl's body convulsed violently, and her parents screamed, their hearts pounding in their chests. But the old woman stayed firm, unblinking as the voice continued. "She became weak, and I entered her. I will take her with me. She is mine now." The cold truth washed over them. The park, the one their daughter played in every afternoon, was built over a forgotten graveyard, a place where the restless spirits wandered, waiting for their chance. For 6 agonizing years, they lived in this nightmare, their daughter a prisoner in her own body. The entity, the boy, refused to leave, tormenting them night after night. They sought help, doctors, priests, anyone who would listen. But no one could give them answers. It wasn't until they returned to that temple, the very place where it all became clear, that they found their salvation. But the scars remained. They say the boy is still out there, waiting for his next victim. And sometimes, late at night, when the wind howls through the trees, you can still hear the faint echo of a child's laughter.